In the last episode, we heard from Greg Rowlett, head of growth at Grommet, and we talked about mistakes brands are making with affiliate and partner programs. Now, today, get ready. I'm chatting with Luke Schneider, founder of Fire Department Coffee, and we'll be talking about how to build a team driven by purpose and with a clear mission to drive growth. And I think this is an excellent conversation to have at the start of the year. So let's get started. Let's dive into it. And I'm your host, Raphael, Paulin-Daigle, and I'm the founder of SplitBase. This is Minds of Ecommerce. Now, this episode is brought to you by SplitBase. At SplitBase, we help leading 8- and 9-figure brands such as Dr. Squatch, Hyperice, and Amica grow through customer-focused conversion optimization programs. We figure out exactly where your website is losing money, and then, we help you fix it. The result, you get an increased conversion rate, higher AOV, and of course, more money, which in returns allow you to scale advertising profitably. We've been at it for over a decade and can help you manage CRO from A to Z. So go to splitbase.com today to learn how we can help you get the most out of your marketing spend and to request your free proposal. All right, Luke, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, now, as you know, this podcast is all about getting deep, right? And dissecting one key growth strategy so our listeners can get the most value right away. Now, in your case, I know you've grown an incredible brand by being very purpose-driven and kind of rallying up your team around that and your customers even, I would say, right? So can you just define, because I think so many people have a different conception of what is a purpose-driven brand, what it means to have a clear mission. I think it might be a bit vague sometimes. So I'd love to know, in your definition, in your case, what does that mean?
Yeah, for Fire Department Coffee and for myself and my team, it means having purpose with clarity that we're working after. So, when we founded Fire Department Coffee, or I founded Fire Department Coffee in 2016, I was a firefighter-paramedic. I realized there was a big need for sick and injured firefighters, and I was able to combine my passion for the craft of coffee with something greater in supporting our fellow firefighters. So that really drove me, that I felt like not only was I doing something I loved by crafting high quality coffee, but I was able to give back and serve my fellow firefighters. And so that allows you to really dig deep in times that are challenging. And when the team sees the mission and the purpose and they have clarity behind what that is, it drives the team as well to push forward something greater than just sales, because sales and profitability are needed to grow and scale. But our mission really defines our brand.
Can you tell me more about how you go about building such a culture? Because I think it's easy. I've seen so many shades of this, right? There are some brands that are just we're purpose driven. We give X, amount to charity. And then that's kind of where it stops. Then there are some that really lives and embodies kind of that as well. And I think that's where you stand. But I'd love to hear some concrete examples of how that mission is embedded into your culture and in your day-to-day.
Yeah, so when I started Fire Department Coffee, I was still an active firefighter-paramedic for the city of Rockford. I had a community around me that was the fire service community, and firefighters drink a lot of coffee. And so I knew that I had a community that resonated with what we were doing, and that we can grow that community. So we did a lot of that through content, and we did a lot of social media content, build a large social community and online community. And we always want to resonate with everyone, so that if you're not a firefighter, you can still relate and see some of the humor. A lot of our content is humorous, but a real concrete example would be when we started Fire Department Coffee. I had a firefighter who reached out, and he sent a video where he was taking some steps with crutches. And I said, "How can we support you?" And he said, "Just wanted to share some good news to a bad story." And he was paralyzed from a tree that fell on him on a wildland fire. and I got to know him, and we were able to support him through our mission. But more so, like I realized it was eye opening. There's a firefighter that's part of this family, this brotherhood and sisterhood that people hear about in the military and the fire service. You live together, you work together, you eat together, you do a lot of things together. And when you're sick or injured, you're no longer able to do that. So there was a big need there. And
Mm,
as firefighters, we see that unfortunately firsthand very often. A lot of firefighters, are higher risk of cancer.
yep.
There's a lot of need for mental health, and then you have your injuries, whether it's burns or crush injuries. There's a lot of things that firefighters are exposed to, and just being a part of that community and seeing it firsthand and being able to bring coffee into that to really drive our mission and fill that need that is there to support our fellow firefighters
Yeah.
was just real life examples of working with people that are dealing with things and knowing people in the community that are dealing things, and we wanted to be there for them and support them through our mission.
Amazing. I'm curious here. I do think that there is a marketing lesson that I'd like people to take as well, right? Because what you're describing here is it's not just, hey, we're giving a small percent of our profits. You're really, embodying the cause through your content, through your logo, through your brand, through how you talk with people. What it does, and what I'm kind of seeing, is obviously it does create something very unique about you, right? Like there's a million of other coffee brands there. How many are like the fire department coffee brand, the one that supports the firefighters, right? There's you, right? And I'm sure there's not a ton more if there's others, but it really creates something unique. Whereas, if I think of the brands that, are just, oh, we're giving a portion, of our profits to charity, and that's kind of where it ends, and they never talk about the rest, right? Those brands are easily forgettable. There's still nothing unique about them that customers will remember for. It just becomes a bit like this marketing thing. But it creates a unique brand and positioning. And I think that's very, very interesting because it's also very authentic. You can't fake it. You're an ex-firefighter, right? So I'd love to know, obviously, it does create this big advantage from a brand and marketing front. I'm curious to hear, when it comes to growing your team, for example, and hiring people, are you, using kind of ex-firefighters as a funnel for potential for new employees? How does that translate into kind of your hiring process?
Yeah, so multiple team members are firefighters. We have actually a few other shareholders that are firefighters. One of them, Jason Patton, he leads our social media content. He's still an active full-time firefighter. So thank you for those kind words. This is our community. We are embraced in it. A lot of
Yeah.
our team members are still active firefighters, and it's a community that we're deeply embedded in. So it wouldn't feel right to create a brand around fire department coffee and then not serve our fellow firefighters and give
Yeah.
back in a bigger way than just roasting high quality coffee.
Yeah. I'm curious about kind of the challenges, right? Obviously, at the end of the day, you are still a for profit enterprise. And what type of challenge does that create? Because I think some people think of like charity or being like a mission driven enterprise. At one point, I think some people kind of blurred a line and feels like, oh, taking profit from that is unfair or something. Those are things we've heard, right? We've all heard kind of those things. At the end of the day, you're still a business and you're doing good, which is a great bonus. But what are some of those challenges that you have faced by being such a mission forward enterprise while still being obviously a for profit enterprise?
Yeah, just I don't know if it's been a challenge on that front, just staying true to the mission, staying true to the brand, continuing to um, build things around it. So like we have our fire department clubs. We do we do a fire department each month that we give back to, and just we also have a disaster relief fire truck that deploys to communities in times of disasters, where we're serving the first responders during those incidents as well as the community. So it's just being very intentional
Hmm.
about what we're doing and making sure that we're doing what we say we're going to do, and making that the forefront of our mission, and staying focused on that and not losing sight of it. Outside of that, I think, as an emerging brand, we have a lot of similar challenges as a lot of other emerging brands of learning, growing, managing inventory while managing growth,
Yeah.
balancing cash flow, all those things that a lot of emerging brands also deal with. But as far as our brand and our mission, just staying focused on that and keeping that at the forefront.
Right. You started this brand with this mission. So inherently, it's very authentic to that mission. And everything you do, you've been able to kind of tie it back. Do you think an existing brand that did not start with that mission, do you think there's an opportunity for those brands to be a bit more mission driven in the way that you are? Or does it need to come from the first days?
I think brands always evolve and adapt. So I think, whatever is best for that brand, that there's not one size fits all, but learning and growing and adapting. And also, um, don't do make it a mission just to try to do sales. Do it because that's what you want to do.
Hmm.
And for us, that's been important. Is just this is in our culture. It's service, teamwork. These are things that just are ingrained in what we do and the work we do. You can't do it without your team. So that's something I realized in the military and the fire services, is you're only as good as your team is. And so having a clear mission with clear goals has been very impactful for fire department coffee. But I am always cautious to give advice to other brands, because every brand is different. But I would say, if that's on their heart and that's what they want to do, and it's not uncommon for brands to change and evolve, even if it's post launching.
Hmm. You talked about goals briefly. I'm curious. Obviously, you have goals in terms of growing the brand. You've got, monetary goals. But when you have a mission like that, do you also have impact goals looped into those objectives? How do you, keep track or measure or decide what type of impact you want to create from a goal standpoint?
Yeah, we set like it in our budget. So we set it in our budget to know, here's what our goal is to give back, and we just stay focused on that, and always, what can we do more? How can we layer more things? What are we doing that can tie back to the mission or support the mission, not just fuel our growth and our brand, but how can it tie back to the mission?
Hmm.
Because our brand is extremely tied to our mission. We started the Fire Department Coffee Charitable Foundation in 2018, and we give back largely through that, but we also give back directly to other nonprofits. A lot of times, departments have benevolent funds that will donate to, and they'll reach out and they'll say, "Hey, this firefighter needs help," or, "We have this need in our department," and then we'll work with them to support their fellow firefighters or fellow firefighters.
Amazing. I'm curious here, like, if we kind of zoom out, and your answer can be related to kind of the mission and building the team and so on, or it could be anything else when it comes to building the brand. But one of the questions I always love asking to brand owners is, if you had to start this business all over again, what's one thing you'd do differently?
I don't know that I would do anything differently. Some of like, there's been definitely a lot of challenges,
Right.
um, that. that may at the time have not been the most enjoyable, but those challenges really shape you and make you stronger, and they make your team stronger. And it's that resiliency that you learn, and you learn your strength of your team during those challenging times. So during challenging times, I think there's things I know now that I could have avoided just because of the learnings and experience that we have now. But being where we're at today, I don't know if I would take those things back, because they have also shaped us to where we are today.
Awesome. Well, we've been talking to Luke Schneider, founder of Fire Department Coffee. Now, Luke, if people want to learn more about you, about the brand, about your mission, where should they go?
They can check us out on social media. We have content on pretty much all the social media platforms. They can see what kind of content we're producing and how we're creating engagement with our community. And they can also check us out on our website. And they can find our products online, or we're also national in Walmart.
Amazing. Luke, thank you so much. And I wish you tons of growth.
Thank you. Appreciate it.